2022 has been a year overflowing with great video games. Elden Ring dominated pretty much 6 months straight, while late-year hitters like Marvel's Midnight Suns, Need for Speed Unbound, and Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion will keep us content well into the new year. So, look, I know you're busy, it's the end of the year, you still haven't gotten around to playing Neon White yet, and you're feeling a little bit burnt out off the Callisto Protocol. It is tempting to move on to everything on the horizon in 2022, but before you do that, I bet there'll be at least one game on this list that you owe it to yourself to check out before you move on. So, with that in mind, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 most underrated video games of 2022. Number 10, Thymesia. If you aren't sick of the Souls formula after dropping 100 plus hours into Elden Ring this year, then Thymesia, or Thymesia, I never quite figured out how to pronounce it, will continue to scratch that itch. With a Bloodborne-esque aesthetic and a Sekiro-style parrying system, this game sees you playing as a plague doctor named Corvus, battling depraved beasts and monsters across desolate swamps and run-down kingdoms. Though the formula will be instantly familiar to any From Software fans, Thymesia does have unique mechanics to bring to the table. The use of plague items and magic allows you to steal the weapons from your enemies and use them on the battlefield, while balancing two distinct HP meters demands more tactical awareness in fights. The level design isn't anything especially complex, but the visual design of each stage is impeccable, dripping with blood, bile, and disease. The boss encounters are suitably tough and memorable as well, sending each stage off on a high. It's very much a familiar first step, but an enjoyable one nonetheless, and hopefully there's more to come from this franchise in the future. Number 9, Scone. Scone received a lot of crap when it finally released on Xbox earlier this year. The first-person horror title had been hyped up for years, selling itself to fans on the basis of its horrifying visuals and dedication to fleshy body horror. However, outside of its promising trailers, how the game played kind of remained a mystery. Just how big of a production was this going to be? Was it a shooter, a walking sim? Was it narrative-driven? We didn't fully know. But these questions were finally answered when Scone released, and it turned out to actually be a puzzle game, and a pretty hardcore one at that. With punishing checkpoints and a smattering of tough combat sections, Kepler Interactive's title does not welcome players in with open arms, and no doubt a huge chunk of the audience failed to get past even the first major headache-inducing puzzle. Stick with it though, because once it clicks, Scone is unlike anything else this year. The puzzles are just frustrating enough to feel satisfying upon completion, and the way they're interweaved with the biomechanical world keeps players immersed in the setting. And what a world this is. One of the most fully realized sci-fi horror environments in recent memory. Each room you enter feels like it has a history that demands to be uncovered. It's short, it's not so sweet, but if you're a fan of puzzlers and a fan of horror, it'll stick with you long after hitting credits. Number 8, Signalus. Signalus is hands down one of my favorite surprises of the year. A PS1-style throwback to the days of classic survival horror, the title isn't afraid to wear its influences on its sleeve. From the stylized menus and UI to the static gunplay, ideas from Metal Gear to Resident Evil are all present in Signalus' DNA, but all of that is in service of a deeply original story and setting. The gameplay is what you'd expect from a throwback like this. The player is tasked with searching through monster-infested buildings in search of keys that are locked behind puzzles in order to progress to the next monster-infested building and do it all again. It's a simple gameplay loop, but an addictive one at that, and the confidence of Signalus' presentation and flow of exploration and combat makes tackling the lengthy game in a sitting or two a surprisingly alluring task. I personally did like 8 of the 12 hours it took me to finish the game in one sitting, and I do not regret it. Now, when it comes to the story, I'm trying to be as vague as possible, as its biggest mysteries and secrets are best experienced for yourself, but if you're a fan of old school survival horror, you definitely owe it to yourself to try this love letter to the genre. Number 7, Tunic. After the Game Awards, I can finally say that yes, Tunic is underrated. Its nominations, but lack of wins there, and 85 score on Metacritic point towards this being a good game. But Tunic is resolutely one of the very best of the year, and even better than its solid reviews suggest. An isometric action RPG, the title sees you take control of a heroic little fox who has to battle through dungeons and explore a vibrant and creative overworld in order to save the kingdom they belong to. While that synopsis might vaguely describe a bunch of action-adventure throwbacks from the past 10 years, Tunic is a cut above the competition with best-in-class level design that constantly reveals new layers and secrets hiding right under your nose, and a superb sense of progression tied to unlocking new abilities and items. Even better, all these mechanics are contextualized within the framing of the player, picking up pieces of a forgotten video game manual. See, the manual for how to play Tunic is hidden inside Tunic. So, while exploring, you may be picking up items that have no description or seeing logos that you can't decipher. All of the secrets to unlocking the meaning of these features hide in the manual pages that you can find, which not only add context to the story, but bestows upon you the knowledge needed to progress and grow stronger. Tunic is a video game that loves video games, and that's weaved into the very fabric of its story and gameplay. Number 6, Evil Dead the Game. Evil Dead the Game could have gone so terribly wrong. There hasn't been a single good game based on this franchise released before now, and asymmetrical multiplayer titles based on movie properties can be hit or miss, looking at you, Predator Hunting Grounds. Throw in a few delays and a muted release, and all signs pointed towards Saber Interactive's title being a total stinker. But never judge a book by its cover. Well, maybe except from the Necronomicon, because that thing is definitely not hiding how evil it is. Because Evil Dead the Game is one of the most enjoyable surprises of the year. The core gameplay focuses on 4 playable survivors fighting against another player, or AI, who controls an entire demonic army. So this isn't your standard asymmetrical multiplayer experience where the players are expected to run and hide from an all-powerful monster. Armed with chainsaws, sledgehammers, and of course boomsticks, Evil Dead the Game is all about offense, trying to match firepower with firepower and complete the level's objectives without being totally overwhelmed. It's a great mechanical foundation, and when you throw in the Evil Dead lore on top, with pitch-perfect character designs, weapons, locations, enemies, and objectives, you're left with one of the best movie-to-game adaptations ever made. Number 5, Madison. There's been no shortage of PT clones since Silent Hills was cancelled, and a bunch of them have carried on the legacy and promise of that playable teaser by delivering jaw-dropping first-person horror experiences. Madison is the latest game to achieve just that. This horror title traps you in a haunted house as Luca, a young man fated to be the host of a dangerous supernatural entity. Delving into his troubled family history as you explore the decrepit house and solve puzzles, Madison spins a tale all about hereditary demons and childhood fears made manifest. What makes it a cut above similar projects is the core mechanic though, a Polaroid camera that's essential to solving puzzles and progressing through the world. Taking a picture by hitting the right trigger is essentially your interact button here, and snapping items across the house can open up new paths or even send you to another dimension entirely. On a more basic level as well, the camera also serves as a light source, with the flash briefly illuminating darkened corridors that might have something lurking down them. It's an imaginative, well-paced horror with enough frights to keep you engaged for the long haul, and one of the very best games of the year. Number 4, Inscription. Inscription is a weird game to describe. On the surface, it's a deck builder roguelike, where you spend each run collecting and powering up your cards in order to defeat bosses and make it to the final challenge. It goes much, much deeper than that though, with twists and turns that I wouldn't dare spoil here. All I will say is there is more than meets the eye to pretty much everything you're shown in the game. It opens with you being held captive in a spooky cabin by a weird dude hidden in the shadows who forces you to play a card game in order to earn your freedom. But when the cards start talking and your tormentor stops playing fair, it's clear something else is going on. Peeling back the many layers of Inscription makes for a gaming experience unlike any other, one packed with memorable characters and an unforgettable art style. The actual card game itself is tense, engaging, and easy to pick up even for an idiot like me, but it's the chilling mystery at the heart of it that'll keep you playing into the early hours of the morning. Number 3, Evil West. Evil West is proof that they just don't make them like they used to. A totally no-nonsense action extravaganza all about defeating enemies as stylishly as possible, this third-person shooter is a throwback by nature, but with enough modern bells and whistles to keep it engaging for a mass audience. For one, Evil West is a looker. From the visual design of the enemies to the imaginatively crafted levels that you're shooting your way through, there's always something new to see. The core combat shines through kinetic action and having to fend off a whole bunch of dangerous enemies, with bloody finishes putting an exclamation point on each combat encounter. You can tell why it didn't receive too much attention. I mean, the story is nothing to write home about, and its steep price point may have put off those who were on the fence, but that shouldn't deter you. This is one of the purest action games of the year, and one hell of a good time. Number 2, Immortality. Even if you've played Sam Barlow's other FMV games like Her Story and Telling Lies, Immortality will still take a bit of getting used to. It tells the story of Marissa Marcel, an actress who made 3 movies that never released and who hasn't been seen since. As the player, you're given access to the footage from these unreleased movies, alongside behind-the-scenes script readings, interviews, and rehearsals, as you piece together the plots of the films, as well as what went on during the production of each one. To unlock new clips, you have to click on objects in a scene that will then match cut to a similar object from a different scene, maybe even a completely different movie, sending you down rabbit holes of association that'll reveal new threads and character dynamics. It's a mysterious game to say the least, but an incredibly well acted and well written one. Marcel's actress, Manning Gage, gives the performance of a lifetime here, having to play one person who's convincingly embodying 3 different roles. The fact that you can't always tell where Marcel ends and where her characters begin is a testament to the actress's power. Is what you're seeing a glimpse into the emotions of the real person, or just another performance of a dramatic scene? With expert attention to detail in the different production styles of the movies, this is a film fan's dream. It won't be for everyone, admittedly, but if you've taken a look at the footage and been drawn in, then believe me, you won't be left burnt if you do give it a go. Number 1, As Dusk Falls. There have been a lot of narrative-driven games this year, but none flew as under the radar as Dusk Falls. Releasing on Xbox Game Pass at the midpoint of 2022, this inventive choice-based title weaves together the story of a family who end up as hostages to a group of troubled armed robbers at a rundown motel. Told through stylish motion graphic still images rather than fully animated cutscenes, the distinct visuals serve to accentuate the game's big dramatic turns without losing any of the more minute emotional details. What starts off as a straightforward tale of cops and robbers quickly turns into something far murkier as the player is invited to dig deeper into the lives of each character, investing us into their relationships so when the difficult decisions start coming, we feel just as powerless as the hero when deciding who to save and who to put in danger. It's not the best game on this list, but it's absolutely the one that deserves way more recognition. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did you play any of these games this year, and do you agree with me that they're a little bit underrated? And are there any other ones I missed off that you would have put on here? Let me know, and while you're down there, if you could, please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for watching all year, and I'll see you soon.